a regular show on here with Captain Daniel from the Island Spirit up there at Ventura Sport Fishing. I want to let you all know that later tonight, normally we have the live show Tackle Shop Confessions. That will be tomorrow night. Daniel, you're there on the Island Spirit out of Ventura. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Phil. How are you doing?
Oh, man, look, I got my coffee.
There you go.
I'm doing fantastic, and I get to talk to my buddy about some exceptional fishing you had over the weekend. You know, we talked about your first trip. You laid out the game plan, and you got some surprises on there. I mean, you had a decent little halibut snap and some other stuff. Tell us how the bite was for you out of Ventura Sport Fishing.
Yeah, we had a really phenomenal day. I was super happy with the results for the first trip. We went to Anacapa. That's the closest island we have to the harbor here. It's about 15 miles from the bay here. We started on the front by the arch, that famous arch that you always see in all the Channel Islands pictures. We started our day fishing nearby there and had some decent whitefish fishing for a while. And then when it got breezy, we swung around to the other side, caught some more whitefish, some sculpin, and then closed off our day with a couple of halibut drifts, and it was fun. It was productive. It was a really fun day.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I had one gentleman send me an email or a text. I can't remember which, but he said, "Man, we had such a good time." No, he sent me photos. I think Seth, what might have been his son, and he had a halibut. And
Yeah, that's Tom. Yeah, Tom Lucas. Yeah.
yeah, Tom Lucas. That's it. And Tom seemed like such a nice guy, and he sounded like he had just a great trip. So, I mean, I'm assuming that everybody else listened to the last podcast we did. Maybe they didn't. So, what is the run that the Island Spirit is doing this year, and what are the parameters in terms of where you fish, etc.?
Yeah, so we're doing an extended half-day run. We will be leaving the dock every morning at 8 a.m. Given that we have enough reservations, we're going to be leaving at 8 a.m. every morning. It's an extended half day, so it's longer than your typical half day trip that's like 4 or 5 hours. We're scheduled to return at 4. And I have no problem staying a little later if, nobody's in a rush to go home and we're having a good time and catching fish, love to do it. So I don't think we tied the boat up till 5:30 yesterday because we started, catching some halibut, and the guys wanted to try for a little longer.
That doesn't surprise me one bit,
Yeah.
knowing how hard you fish. What was the key for the halibut in terms of your rig and bait and everything else? And I know you said on the last show, fluorocarbon's a must.
Yeah, fluorocarbon's very important. Our halibut area was super close to where we were fishing whitefish, but I idled around for a little bit and gave the guys time to get their rig switched over. So the deckhands went around and they set up everybody with 20-pound test, super light fluorocarbon, and we tried both regular dropper loops. That's my personal favorite way to fish halibuts, just a regular dropper loop. But I know a lot of people like the reverse dropper loop as well, so we kind of tried both. We were about half and half with our 18 people, but everybody had a live bait um, on a dropper loop, one way or another, either traditional or reverse. We actually ended up having sardine at our bait receiver. I thought we were only gonna have anchovy, but they brought in some sardine the night before, so we had everybody fishing live sardines. And yeah, I mean, we got 5 bites and landed 3 of them, and they were all in the regular dropper loop, not the reverse.
Oh,
So
really? So your
yeah, I don't know.
experiment
Maybe
worked
there's
out.
something to that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the scientific method, man. You had a hypothesis, you tested it, and you found out the regular dropper loop worked. That's great. Choosing a good hot bait, so important, right?
Very, yeah. Yeah. It does take patience to fish halibut, can be boring sometimes. It's like watching paint dry. You're just sitting there, but you can't just sit there and leave the same bait on, for longer than 5-10 minutes when you're fishing sardine, anchovy, stuff like that. It's important to, have a bait that's kicking on there and looks presentable. So, we had to constantly remind everybody to change their baits, and it worked out.
So I know anglers, they think to themselves, man, my bait's in a good zone right now, but I haven't had a bite for 5 minutes. Do I change it? Do I soak it? what's the answer to that? How much time do you give a bait before you say, I don't know what's wrong with this thing, but there's something wrong with it?
Well, it depends on the kind of fishing you're doing. When you're fishing, bass, tuna, like fly lining a bait, most of your bites are going to be in the first 30 seconds. So if you've had a bait on for longer than like 90 seconds, I know the long soak is a thing sometimes, but the majority of the time, if your bait's on there for longer than 90 seconds, you're kind of just wasting time. So that's, that applies for tuna fishing, bass fishing, stuff like that. But when you're fishing live bait on a dropper loop, you can probably give it about 5 minutes, 10 minutes before it's time for a fresh one.
Right. Okay. Now, recent history suggests that the Channel Islands has been the epicenter of the halibut fishing. It has been remarkable the last few years. I look at some of those scores, and I'd like to say they're a throwback to when I was a kid, but there's no damn way that halibut fishing was that good when I was a kid. It's better now. It's been really good up
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it's nuts. Super unprecedented. There actually was a really good halibut year about, I think, 10 years ago, like 2014, I think it was, where
Yeah,
halibut
yeah.
fishing was insane up here, but it hasn't been as good as it's been the last 2 years for quite some time. But yeah, it's pretty fun. They're biting both in the shallow water and the squid beds. There's a lot of fish. It's pretty impressive.
All right, very good. Daniel Lightfoot says hello to everybody. If you have a question out there, be sure and ask. Lots of people are tuning in already. I think we got a new show here, Daniel.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to be on here on a regular basis. How about
I like it.
conditions? Are conditions normal? Are they warmer? Are they cooler? What do you see in terms of water temp and all that stuff?
Well, this time of year, the water is pretty cold, as to be expected. Yesterday was about 50. I had 58 degrees on my gauge, so pretty cold, fairly cold still. But yeah, it seems like all the halibut that's been caught this year has been in really shallow water, like really really shallow. As some guys are catching them and like 2-3 fathoms, or like really really shallow. We caught them
Wow.
about 6 fathoms yesterday, so like 30 to 36 feet of water. But yeah, it seems like so far they're in the shallow water, like up tight on these beaches up here. I fished somewhere I've never fished before yesterday. Just gave it a shot. Nice little beach on the back of Anacapa. Looked kind of fishy. There was some bait around, so we tried it, and obviously got some bites. So I'm excited to try some more spots back there. Hopefully get some more halibut on the boat next weekend.
Yeah, that sounds great. Daniel Lightfoot wants to know what size weight you're using.
So we were in really shallow water, like I said, like 6 fathoms. So when you're fishing that shallow, you don't really need anything heavier than a 4 ounce. You can get away with like a 4, 5, 6 ounce sinker. Um, Towards the end, it got a little bit windier, and we were moving pretty fast. So I had guys switch to like an 8, so it didn't scope their lines out too far. But yeah, it seemed like as light as 4 ounces, as heavy as 8 ounces for the halibut drifting.
All right, good stuff. Setting the hook on a halibut. When is the right time to do it? Some people say, "Oh no, no, a halibut. It takes its time when it's on your bait. It's you gotta just be patient. You can't set the hook too early." What is the answer? When do you set the hook? When the rod starts to load up, or what?
So we like to overcomplicate it and think about it a lot, but the reality of it is sometimes they just grab the bait. The fish is going to be hooked before you really know what happened. You know what I mean? You're just
Yeah.
going to be sitting there, bored. Time's going by, and then your rod's bent. They don't really with squid it's different, but with live bait, with like anchovy and sardine, they don't really like nibble at it and pick it. They kind of just slam it and it's there. But in the case that you do feel a bite, you do feel a tap, you just want to hold still, be patient, don't spook it, don't pull the bait out of its mouth. Just let your rod do all the work. So your rod's going to load up, and at that point you just need to start cranking. You don't want to set the hook all crazy and do anything like that. Just let
And
the
your
rod
fish
do what it's supposed to do, and just grind into the bite, and let the rod do all the work.
Are you fishing J hooks or circle hooks, or what are you doing?
I prefer J hooks for all island fishing. Anytime you're fishing at an island, you can leave the circle hooks at home. Pretty much, J hooks are the way to go.
Oh, and you get to set the hook with them, man. That's the fun part.
Yeah, that is the fun part.
What
Yeah,
about white sea bass? Did you look around, poke your nose around for that around any of the squid beds?
I didn't see any squid where I was at. So I don't really have any information for you on sea bass, but we're getting to that time of year where squid starts to show up. It already has showed up at some of these islands. I know Cody on the Californian saw a little bit of squid where he was fishing. Um, so yeah, it could happen very soon. I'm sure we're gonna be seeing sea bass in the counts before too long.
Yeah, I would think so. So, when is your next trip, and when can people join you?
Yeah, so I have a trip on Saturday morning. Um, we have a open party half day trip leaving at 8 a.m. Ventura Sport Fishing on Saturday morning. We already have a few people signed up, and we would like to get more. Once we get about a dozen reservations, we can officially make the trip a go. So if you guys would like to get on, try to catch some bottom fish, maybe a few halibut as well. Call the landing at 805-676-3474, or you can visit us at venturasportfishing.com, and you'll be looking for the Island Spirit.
All right, and if you put preseason 20 in there at checkout, do you still get the 20% discount until April 1st?
Yes, sir. So that's the other thing. Make sure you use the promo code. No reason to not save 20% if you can. It's a great deal. It'll work on any trip you book before April 1st, even if the trip itself is later in the year. As long as you make the reservation before April 1st, they will honor the 20% off. So we have that promotion for Saturday. And then on Sunday, we have Kids Fish Free again. So if you have a child ages 12 or younger, you can get them on the boat for free with each adult ticket that you buy.
All right, ton of people watching here. MJ
Oh,
wants to
yeah.
know. He wants to know when the squid normally in a normal year will show up in the Channel Islands.
Usually during the winter time, like they already have started to show up. Nobody's been to the outer islands yet that I know of. Um, the Endeavor is going to start running trips in a couple weeks here, and there's no reason to believe that there isn't already squid here. And when there's squid, the sea bass come. So I think we might have a good early sea bass season.
Oh, that would be great. I got to tell you something, Daniel. You talked
Hmm.
about the deckhands going around and tying everybody up. I was there on the Island Spirit, and I was freaking amazed at the guys not only doing that, but then after they'd done that, doing a second check, going through and
Oh yeah,
checking it again. They're not like screwing around. They're really good at that.
yeah. No, it's super important. There's a lot of experienced fishermen that come out that are more than capable of tying their own stuff, and they like to, but then there's novice anglers as well, so we like to make sure that the guy that is fishing for his first time has just as good a chance to catch a trophy fish as does, let's say, someone like Tom, who's been fishing for 30, 40 years and has worked on boats when he was a kid. Like his son, I don't know how old he is, 16, 17. He caught a halibut.
Yeah,
He
I
was super.
saw that.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure everybody has equal opportunity to catch a game fish. So it's important that the guys help everybody tie up properly, and then afterwards we also like to go back and check everyone's drag, make sure that it's not buttoned down or too loose, because
Right.
it's pretty heartbreaking when you hook one of these nice fish and your drag's not set right, and it's gone before you can do anything about it.
Oh man, yeah, I know what you mean. Robert Graber is joining us. He says, "Good afternoon, Phil and Captain Daniel and the Friedman Adventures family. Thanks for reporting on the 805." Yoo-hoo! He's loving the 805 reports, man.
Oh yeah. Good morning or afternoon. Sorry.
Yeah, whatever it is. That's why I'm drinking
Long
coffee.
day.
I don't know what it is either. Somebody asked me what day of the week it was a moment ago, and I go, "Hell, I don't know."
Yeah, right.
All right, Carlos Sanchez is joining us. And Carlos wants to know what the limit. Hey, Carlos, welcome, by the way. Carlos wants to know what the limit on halibut and white sea bass is, I guess, both in terms of possession and size.
Yeah, so we'll do size first. Halibut have to be 22 inches. There has been quite a bit of halibut that are on that like border of being, legal or short. With this, influx of halibut that's been here, we have seen quite a bit more like small male halibut than we have in past years. So it is super important to make sure that you measure them. If it's, if it looks close, just don't chance it. If you're, measuring your fish and it's maybe barely 22, maybe not, just throw it back. It's not worth the risk. You don't want to
Right.
end up with a ticket or anything. So for us, if we are to keep a halibut, we want to make sure that it's 22 and a half inches, that it's very clearly over the 22-inch mark. And sea bass are 28 inches. So sea bass and barracuda are the two fish that are the same for the length limit. They have to be 28 inches. And in terms of how many you can keep, you can have 5 halibut all year round. It's been that way for a while. And the sea bass limit changes throughout the year. So right now you can only have 1, but then on June 15th it changes to 3. From June 15th to November 15th, you can keep 3 white sea bass per person per day. And then from November 15th through the winter time all the way until June the next year, you can only have 1.
All right, good stuff. All right, you are listening to Captain Daniel Hadawi here on the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel, talking about the Island Spirit and some great trips they have coming up this next weekend at event Torre Sportfishing. You should join him. Hey, MJ says he wants to know, and maybe he missed when you were talking about dropper loop, but that's okay. What's your
Oh yeah.
go-to rig? What's your go-to rig for halibut? And do you like a rig with a 3-way swivel?
So my personal favorite rig for catching halibut is just your classic dropper loop rig. For me, I think it's the most effective. It's always worked the best for me. Fishing personally with the rod and reel. Um, I like my sinker on the bottom, and then about 3 to 4 feet up, you want a long dropper loop, like a 8 to 12 inch dropper loop, with a small J hook if you're gonna fish a live sardine or anchovy, and then a big J hook if you're gonna fish a squid. So I like the traditional dropper loop the best for halibut. But another rig that I don't mind and I've seen be very effective is the reverse dropper loop. So that's when you have a smaller loop. You'll do a really short loop, put your like 6-ounce sinker on that, and then have like a 2.5, 3 foot strand of line going off of your sinker, and you'll tie on your hook with like a San Diego knot or whatever to where your sinker would normally go on a traditional dropper loop rig. So that one works really well. I know some people are a fan of the swivel, the 3-way swivels, but I'm super against swivels. I really, really, really don't like swivels. I mean that's just a bias thing. I'm sure it works great for people on private boats or that just go fishing by themselves or on 6-packs with a couple other people. But just growing up fishing and working on like sport boats, large sport boats, swivels are like my sworn enemy. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to use swivels for anything.
Why? What
That
happens when people are fishing with a swivel?
they're just tangle magnets. It's a tangle magnet. I don't know how to explain it, but I mean swivels just find a way to just create the worst tangles possible, and
They're
that's not
evil.
something that we want to deal with when we're working with game fish. So whenever we're fishing game fish, it's really like a strong preference of mine to have everybody with the same rig, have everybody's rigs checked by the deckhands, make sure everything looks right, the hooks are on the right way, they're not backwards, all the drags are set properly. These are really nice fish, and it's really heartbreaking when you lose them. So you want to kind of minimize any potential errors down the road by just having everything look nice and everybody fishing the same kind of rig and having the right equipment. It's just for that reason I don't like swivels. But if it's your personal preference to fish a swivel, I'm not gonna make you not fish it. It's your choice.
Perfect. 25-pound fluoro, is that what you're fishing? Or 20, or what are you fishing?
Yeah, for really really shallow water fishing, 20 is just fine. I like 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're fishing in the sand, so I mean, right? You can get away with 20
Yeah,
easily.
yeah. There's a little bit of like kelp and rock around. Sometimes these halibut like to hang out, on the edge of the kelp beds and between rocks and like a little bit of structure on the bottom. So it's not out of the ordinary to get stuck on the bottom once in a while. It happens. There's nothing you can do about it. But yeah, they hang out in these sand patches in between all the structures. So um, usually you're not going to get stuck on anything, but it could happen. You could get hung up in some kelp or rock or whatever. But it happens. If you lose your rig, the deckhands will tie you a new one, faster than you can even go get a new sinker. So you don't have to worry about it.
Well, Daniel, I'm an expert halibut fisherman. My biggest fish was in Ensenada. I made a cast with a tatty lure, got a huge bird's nest. My jig, my jig ended up on the bottom. I started winding up, and I said, "Oh hell, I'm snagged on something." I looked down, and there's a 35-pound halibut. So
There you
hey,
go.
better lucky than good, right?
Oh, of course.
Hey,
Always.
Carlos has an excellent. Carlos, great questions tonight. This is turning into a whole halibut seminar.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
loving it.
I
Do you
love it.
recommend? He wants to know if you recommend the trap rig for flatties.
Yeah, I've seen it be super effective. It's not really practical to set up a trap rig for everybody. It's kind of complicated. It takes some time. But if you know how to do it and you want to use it, by all means, I've seen it work. I mean, I've seen. I think it was Joe Martinez. You know Joe Martinez. He's been on your show
Oh,
before.
Joe Martinez. Yes, I
Yeah,
love Joe.
we had a we had a trip. Uh, I think 2 summers back on the Endeavor. We were fishing halibut at San Miguel, and he was using a trap rig for halibut because he missed a couple bites, switched to the trap rig, and instantly he caught a halibut, and it was only attached to the little treble hook on the back.
Wow.
So that trap rig, produced a nice fish for him. So ever since I've seen him using it, I've thought like, oh, it's not so bad.
Yeah, really, really. Hey,
Yeah.
you mentioned that fishing a sardine or an anchovy, the fish will jump on it sometimes, and you're hooked. You're on. Is it different with a squid? And if so, what is the deal? Do you have to exercise a little more patience?
Yeah, with a squid, you usually have to exercise a little more patience, like you said. Sometimes the halibut, it seems like maybe they try to kill the squid first, or they, kind of nibble on it, suck on it a little bit, whatever. But yeah, the biggest thing is when you're getting those little like nibbles, you don't want to swing and set the hook. You want to wait for your rod tip to load up. Super important. That's the number one way we see people, missing out on catching these fish is just by getting too excited and trying to swing and set the hook too fast when they get a bite. You really want to just, hold steady and pay attention to your rod tip and wait for it to load up and get heavy, and then you just have to grind it into the bite.
I
It's the
noticed
best
those
way.
nice. I noticed those nice halibut. I saw those nice whitefish. How was your fishing for viejas? You know what a vieja is? You know the Spanish word? It's a sheep's head. How was your
Oh,
sheep's head fishing?
oh man, the sheephead were non-existent for us. I don't know why.
Huh.
We did not see any sheephead throughout the day, but I'd like to. So on the next trip, I'm gonna go fish somewhere else. Maybe there just wasn't a ton of sheephead in the area I was fishing, but yeah, we're gonna try a new area next time and try to add some sheephead to the mix.
All right. Well, we're almost ready to wrap this up, everybody. I looked at the weather for next
Hmm.
weekend, and it looks beautiful.
Oh yeah, yeah, it looks nice. It was really nice for us going out, about as good as it gets in the morning, and it did get kind of breezy towards the end of the day. But yeah, next weekend looks even better, so I'm excited.
All right. So your next two trips are going to be Saturday and then Sunday when kids 12 and under with a paid adult fish for free. Why
Yes,
don't you
sir.
tell us one more time again, Daniel, how to sign up for that?
Yeah, so the best way, guys, is calling the landing. If you'd like to call the landing, that is 805-676-3474. You can talk to somebody in the office about getting on the boat. If you mention the code preseason 20 while you're talking with them on the phone, they'll get you 20% off your trip. So
Oh,
don't
that's
forget to
great. I
mention
didn't
the
realize
promo
that.
code. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't have to book it online to get the deal. You can just mention it to whoever picks up the phone in the office. But yeah, the other way, just going online to our website, venturasportfishing.com, and then you can see our full schedule, and it's super simple to book online there as well.
Excellent. Yusef Swan says he's had a great deal of success stripping out mackerel and fishing goats, sheephead by doing that. He said that's been a good way to go.
Yeah, I've seen that work too. A lot of guys like the shrimp too. I mean, they eat squid perfectly fine. It's a really fun fish to catch. I know why people like them. They do put up a fight. It's really fun.
All right. What is Sam De La Torre saying, Sam? Let's see. What does it say? Oh, go Fords.
Goford's got one.
Yeah, do you know what that means?
I don't. Can you elaborate, Sam?
Sam De La Torre owns Island Fishing Tqckle in Carson, California. Normally, him and I do a show tonight, Cody, but he's got something going on, so we're going to do it tomorrow night.
Okay.
So, Gifford got one.
Gifford.
Bob Gifford's a guy that fishes with us all the time. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's talking about the blanket? Are you talking about a San Marcos blanket, Sam? What are you talking about? Oh my God, I have no idea. I think Sam's maybe he can't do the show tonight because he's into the tequila or something. Maybe that's it. Hey, Daniel, can't thank you enough. Great halibut seminar tonight. I'm looking forward to coming up and fishing with you, but I highly admonish everybody. I tell you, go up there and fish with these guys because they are going to treat you right. You're going to have a great day on the water, and I know you are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, let's do it, guys. We have some trips this weekend, and super excited to take you guys out. So let's go fishing.
All right, Daniel, take great care of yourself, my friend. Hey, say hi to everybody up there for me. Sal up in the office, and we'll have to get Cody on here, and of course, everybody else up there, man. You guys have my deep and abiding respect. You're a lot of fun to fish with, and Tucker McCombs just does a magnificent job. It's great to see you again here tonight.
All righty. Thank you so much, Phil. Have a good night.
All right, same to you, Daniel. Have a good one, and we'll see you soon.
All righty. Sounds good. Good night, guys.
Take care.
Bye.